to the Tea on Birth. It is me, your host, Vondria, and I am so excited to be back. It's the new year 2023, and man, do I have the tea. We're going to be talking about so many things this um, semester, this season of the podcast. Fingers crossed for some guest speakers, other birth workers, other moms telling their stories, all things birth. Love it all. And other educational things, like things about birth, things about how to prepare before, the best way to have an induction, the best way to have C-sections, all the stuff. So, if you're ready to dive in, I am too. Today we are talking about that red raspberry leaf tea. If you've had a baby, or you know someone that had a baby, you probably know what this is already. But I'm not just talking about the red raspberry leaf tea, but we're going to be talking about all the natural induction things that people don't talk about. Like, I know, for instance, me, a lot of moms do the stuff, drink the tea, eat the dates, do the evening primrose oil, but have no idea what it actually does. So we're going to be diving in on that today, and talking about all those things so you know what they do. Because I've heard from some moms like, oh, I did this thing and it made me have my baby. Well, that thing actually doesn't induce labor like that, It's just prepping your body for labor. So, let's dive in today. So what first we're going to talk about is the red raspberry leaf tea. And what it does is that really it's like a uterine toner, like a little workout for a uterus. So a lot of times when you drink this tea, you might have more Braxton Hicks or maybe even contractions. A doula told me this, and I think my doula told me this actually, but I think this is a great rule of thumb. If you have more than 6 contractions within an hour after drinking the tea, and you're 31 weeks, because we tried it, we always start, this is stuff you start third trimester, okay? So you're starting this your third trimester, you're 31 weeks, drink tea, and you have boom, boom, boom contractions. Probably don't drink the tea anymore until 37 weeks, where your baby's all good and healthy, and if you want to go, if your body wants to, do some laboring stuff, it can. So with that, though, it's not gonna be something that really puts you in labor, but it's giving your uterus practice work, basically. So it helps your body, your uterus muscle that has never really been used like that, get more tone. And your baby be prepared for labor and get used to contractions. So it helps in that way, and that's how we recommend you drink it. My favorite outside of the red raspberry leaf tea is the Nora tea, and Nora tea has red raspberry, but it also has nettle and oat straw, some other things in it that help prevent hemorrhaging after birth, and supposed to help with prolonged labor. And I drank it my whole pregnancy, and I did have contractions when I would walk and stuff, but once my labor started, it wasn't a very it was normal for a first time mom. It wasn't very long and drawn out. So I credit that towards the tea. The Nora tea tastes yummy. You just have to drink a bunch of it. So the recommendation is, because if you have a doctor, they're probably not going to tell you about this stuff because they're just not educated about it. So the Nora tea, you put it in a big mason jar, 12 ounces with 2 cups of the tea, and you let it steep, you put hot water, steep overnight kind of thing, and then drink it the next day. So just make a batch of like 3 or 4 in one day, and then strain them all the next day, and then have them for 3 days. Like drink it like sweet tea. It was good. And then if you do the red raspberry leaf tea, then I would just start off with one like tea pouch a day, and then if it's fine, like build up to 3. So you can either do like 3 cups of tea a day if you love tea, and that's why you're here, because I talked about tea, or you can put 3 of the tea bags in 1 cup and just drink it if you don't want to drink tea all day. If you don't like hot tea, just make it in like a pitcher, put it in the refrigerator, and then drink it later. So, but it's good for you. It helps your uterus to do the work, and it kind of helps you prepare, get used to like the tightening feeling, maybe some uncomfortableness, like prepare mentally that way. The next thing that people love to do and have, it's good and helps is evening primrose. Evening primrose also does not put you into labor, but it softens your cervix. So whenever labor first starts, or when you're first pregnant, or before you're pregnant, your cervix starts off very thick, and throughout labor it thins out, and that's how it becomes like stretchy. So if anyone ever does vaginal exam on you and they say like, man, you're like this many dilated, but your cervix is really stretchy, that means that it can stretch more easily. So the plan with evening primrose is that it helps with that. You can either take it orally or you can insert it vaginally. I don't really I think both work. I don't think it really matters, but I do get the mind frame of like putting it close to where it needs to be, the cervix, like putting it directly on the cervix obviously would probably do more work. If you're like, I'm already taking too many pills, girl, I can't do all of that, the next best thing that we love to do when we're pregnant, not really, because you're so pregnant at the end, is sex. So sex does the same thing to your cervix. It softens it, because the man's sperm has prostaglandins in it, and that softens your cervix. So if you're like, I don't want to take pills, or no, I don't want to insert it, just have sex every day, and then I'll do the same thing. Your cervix will be getting ready to have a baby. And it's nice because a lot of labor, like early labor, the longest part of labor, is really just softening that cervix so that it can dilate and bringing baby down. Like that's really what's happening. So if you knock out a little bit of the cervix softening before, like you're, it's effacement, so you're like, you have to get to 100. So let's say you start off 60%. Like, man, once like your baby's head is applied, or those contractions get more intense, your cervix is going to stretch open easily. So that does help prepare your body for labor, but again, it's not something that puts you into labor per se. The next thing I want to talk about that isn't really like a natural labor induction, but I think it's something that everyone should be doing along with these like prep work stuff, is perinatal massage. So the science behind that is, one, it's like massage your partner or you, just like stick a finger inside your vagina walls and like apply some pressure. Enough that it's like a little bit uncomfortable and you have to breathe through it, which is great. It helps you. I think even if the goal behind it is to help you not tear, I don't know if it really helps that, because you're helping those muscles stretch before the head of a baby stretches it, but I do think it really helps you mentally prepare on like the pressure you're going to feel when the baby is coming out a little bit. It's not the full pressure, because a finger versus a head, not the same, but it really helps you learn how to cope with that pressure. So whenever I did this when I was pregnant, I made my birth playlist, so I put my playlist on, and I think it's great to have your partner help you because this is a way to help them be involved and also help learn how to like coach you when you're uncomfortable and feeling stuff you don't like, you know. So my husband would do it. We'd like get some oil. He could use like coconut oil, olive oil, lube, whatever you have, but you don't want to do it just dry because it's gonna suck. But he would use some like oil that we had and just apply pressure on all sides of the wall, and then once one finger was like, oh, okay, I'm like, that's not bad anymore, like 2 fingers kind of thing, and like just apply, I can't do it, but like apply pressure like that on the walls of the vagina. And like it was helpful because it was uncomfortable, and so my husband would be like, breathe, relax, like use words and like be gentle and loving and kind, and then again that transferred for him using those words in labor when that stuff was happening, you know, like breathe, you got this. So like it helped us both kind of prep for the big show. But it is not something that I would put in the category of natural induction, but I love it and I don't know where to put it, so I'm putting it here today. So I hope you took notes. And then some other things that also, some things that really are natural inductions are, there's homeopath meds you can take. There's like 3 of them that work really well. Again, there's like that help with your uterus like going on a workout basically. And I kind of can pronounce them, but yeah, semi-sufuga and cauliflorum are the 2, I'm pretty sure. And then the other one that, like, these are what my midwives put me on, is arnica. And that's because arnica is going to help, like, everything relax. So after you had, like, 2 days of, like, working out that uterus, let's, like, take a break and help it, you know, reset kind of thing. Because you don't want to overwork it before it's even started. Not that it does that much, but, you know, you want it to be able to be up for the job when it's time for the job. So that could be also some things to like start helping your uterus like prepare and get ready, and semi-lead to natural induction. But really the biggest, you know, if you know, you know, the biggest natural induction, big mama, that's actually maybe probably going to put you into labor is castor oil. Dun, dun, dun. And castor oil is castor oil. I mean, basically, it tastes gross. I did it, but to have my son, I don't think it helped me have my son, but definitely cleared me out for labor. But anyway, the castor oil, like, put it in burrito with oil, with eggs, and make it so it kind of like stays in your system, because if you just straight up drink it, it's just really gonna run through you and not have time to like really work out your uterus. So if you heard my birth story, you kind of know, but the thought process behind that is that it's going to make your digestive system, like your intestines, like contract, and your uterus is really close to it, so it ends up contracting your uterus too, giving you some contractions that either stay or leave after you have a horrible time in the bathroom. And also pairing it with eggs usually helps the side effect of throwing up, because a lot of people throw up from it because it tastes gross if you drink it. So that's the thought process behind that. I only recommend doing that if you're at least 40 weeks, if you're like a second, third time mom, 41 weeks if you're a first time mom, because all these things that naturally help are only going to help if you're close to having your baby. Like, maybe just help you have a baby like a day earlier or 2, you know, but not like Pitocin, basically. And then another, like, there's 2 other things that I would put in a category of natural, but they're not really things that you can do yourself. These are things that you would have your care provider do or ask. So one really great thing is called a cervical sweep, and basically just means your care provider goes in and does a vaginal or cervical check on you, and when they check, if they can, like if you have some stretch, if they can, if you're a little bit dilated, they can basically sweep around your cervix, like in this hole, the dilation, and it releases again, like kind of oxytocin stuff, hormones, and kind of could give you some contractions or irritability that might stay or might go. And one thing that's great, which I think some people kind of downplay, if you're having some like true, real contractions, they are doing some work. And so even if you get the sleep, you have contractions for like 2 hours and they go away, like they're dilating you or thinning your cervix or bringing baby down. They're doing something. So when it's time for labor, when it really does happen, you have less way to go. My mind, in my opinion, it makes you feel better, but I really think so. So yeah, it kind of helps in that sense, I would say. And then the second thing is called a Foley balloon. It is like a catheter, but it goes in your vagina to your cervix instead of your urethra, like the catheter for when you're peeing and you have to get in the hospital. So they blow. There's 2 types, or probably a couple types, but there's 2 that I know where they blow like a small balloon up on the inside of your cervix once it's in there, like it's small. That just applies like pressure. Or they have one where there's a balloon on the outside and inside to apply pressure in that sense. And those usually get you to like 3 or 4 centimeters, probably like 4 centimeters dilated. But that's only if they fall out. So if you have it, the recommendation is like 12 hours. If you have it for like 12 hours, doesn't fall out, cut it out. And that is more, just depends on your provider. So like I had midwives and they had a nurse practitioner who could administer that to me or apply that to my cervix, and they just let me go home with it. And then if it didn't fall out in 12 hours, I just cut it out myself. Like we just cut it out, the water squirts out and the tube comes out pretty easily. But if you have a care provider like OBGYN, this is something that you would probably be doing if you were going through an induction process in the hospital and you do not go home with it. I think I've only heard of maybe like 1 or 2 doctors like doing it, letting them just leave, because they want to monitor you and all that such. So, which the birth center did monitor me, like when they monitor baby before putting the balloon in, monitor baby during the putting the balloon in, and then after. So they did do monitoring. They just said, he was fine. Nothing made them worry or think that they needed continuous monitoring. And the last thing that I forgot to talk about is dates. So one, if you're just seeing like one date, you gotta up it up, girl. The recommendation is 6 dates a day. 6 dates a day. I did not do it. Not a date person. But I hear it really helps. Again, like the thought process behind that is that it helps soften your cervix and helps with cervical ripening for labor. I don't know what's in dates that does it, but it does. And if you're like, man, I don't really like dates, I know a midwife friend that told me, and there's like a recipe you could probably find, but like he made like a bunch of dates wrapped in bacon, so like it's less sweet but tastes like, has like a sweet savory taste. And since you have to eat like 6 a day, she ate one like 2 after every meal. So like 2 for breakfast, 2 at lunch, 2 at dinner. So that could kind of help you keep up with that if that's something that you want to do and add to your process. But again, really all the natural induction stuff is geared towards prepping your body and like kind of helping to see like, just doing all the things to help your body be ready. And when it's like, maybe of like maybe, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't do this, like push it over the edge kind of thing. But never if you're like, and all these things I would recommend like starting your 3rd trimester, except for, the castor oil. Castor oil is something you do when you are like 41 weeks plus if you're a first time mom, 40 weeks maybe if you're a 2nd, 3rd time mom, and you're pretty like dilated already and but yeah, that's something that I wouldn't, like, it's up to you. It's not gonna hurt you or the baby, but just depending on what's happening, like, yeah, if you're like, man, I really don't, if you're getting scheduled for an induction, you're like, man, I really don't want this induction, like at a hospital and you have an OB, like, yeah, do it. It's not gonna hurt. Like, it's not gonna hurt your baby. It's safe. It's not gonna put you into labor unless you were going to go into labor. So yeah, the castor oil, Foley balloon, the tea, love the tea, the dates, the perinatal massage, all of those things are great in helping your body prepare and be ready for labor, and even push it over the edge if you were close, to having your baby. So those are the things that I want to talk to you about today. Just kick off with natural stuff because I love natural things. And that is the tea of birth. I will chat at you guys later.